Now, let's talk about broken access control. Before I actually get into the broken access control, let's check how many of you have heard about OWASP before. Just say yes or no. Have you heard about OWASP before? Let me tell you why I'm asking, because I've seen sessions where people have said that we have never heard about OWASP, but it seemed interesting, so I thought I'll join. Oh, you've heard. Most of us have heard about OWASP, interestingly. Now, what is broken access control? In its very simple word, or when our app says access denied, that, oh, we are not going to give the access, but really means that at times, come on in, I'll get you the access. I've seen cases where I logged in as Vandana, but then I was able to change myself to Gina or to Maika, to Sonia, to all the people that are there. I can flip around it. And when we talk about especially broken access control, or access control, if I'll have to call it out, it's like a bouncer at the club. But when it comes to broken access control, the bouncer is on a coffee break, and now anyone can get on the stage with the DJ and can play around, which means there's no access control that we have there. And there are usual culprits which are there with it. Specifically, I have to call it out: least privilege violation or least privilege escalation. Here everyone is admin, because why not? There's no proper controls which are there. Even if we say that, oh, we have authentication, we have this, but we're still not able to manage it. And I've seen cases where we've been talking about forced browsing. I remember when I started my journey in application security, this was a big thing. But now also I've seen there are many applications which are still vulnerable to all these forced browsing, where people can change the details. They are able to manipulate the users. They are able to change themselves to admin. And not just that. A few months back, I was working on a project, and I realized that it was more around the the salary control. Now, if you are a normal person, you would not be able to see the salary of other person, but there were certain parameters which were there on the fly which I could change, and I could be an admin. Think about that, how critical that situation would be, and especially for an HR, how tricky that would be. So broken access control is simple. It happens when applications fails to properly restrict the users, what they can do or what they can see. And if, let's say, I am just a normal person, Micah is an admin, so I would be able to log in as an admin or Micah. I would totally love that. And not just this, if I have that access, I would be very, very happy about it. But how does it work? Now, think about this attack with Vimeo, which happened in 2015, where attacker finds that there's a public user ID, which is there in the URL. Because now, when we especially get vulnerable, you know that there are user IDs floating around everywhere. Now, this attacker, what he tried is that attempt to reset their account password. Now, I am an attacker. I'm trying to reset the password for my account. But I know that there are other users as well, like Gina. Gina F is her username, and I know that that's the username because I found out on the internet. Now, what I do is I try and capture the HTTP post request body and try to modify the URI, which points to the victim's public ID. So now, instead of my ID, I'm going to be putting Gina's ID. And what happens next? I'm able to reset her password. And I would love to get all the information about Gina. So if I have that information, I can do anything and everything, because here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the parameter tampering, and I'm going to be playing around with it. And it's not nowhere related to force browsing. I just simply change the few parameters here and there, and I'm able to get it. So here, now the interesting bit comes is that while all of this is being happening, there are multiple things that if we don't have the right kind of authentication, or proper broken access control, we can do a lot of stuff like insecure directive object reference, where I have something in the URL, and when I change the parameters in the URL, or the URL, let's say there is an invoice which I have which says 12345, and I change that invoice to 12346, but that's not my bill, that's somebody else's bill, and I still will be able to access that bill. or I am logged into my bank account, and I'm not supposed to get access to some other or URLs, but when I change the parameter in the URL and I have access to them, how cool that would be. And then that's just the most simplest one. And then you might be thinking that, oh, no, 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 it does not happen. But let me tell you, it still happens. Now, I'm sure you must have heard about JOT as well, JWT tokens. Now, with JWT tokens also, we can play around. We can do JWT tempering. We can play around with the hidden fields abuse and whatnot. And especially while we talk about access control, there are multiple scenarios. And that's when I said that you have to make sure that you look at every CWE that's associated with it. It is not just one vulnerability. There are multiple other test cases, use cases, and I'm just marking few of them. But maybe you've been working on this for a very very long time, and you think that, oh, there is this case that can be also there, and I feel that this is missed. So definitely go to the GitHub, make your suggestion, create a pull request, and your name will be as part of the contributor list. And what motivated me to get involved with OWASP is something where I want to get my name on a OWASP top 10 list. I think that's something which is really amazing. So that's how I started off with OWASP top 10. Now let me just share how exactly indirect object reference can around the password reset can happen. Let's check it out. So here we have this attacker user ID and there is a victim user ID. Now this is a password reset link. I know that I wanted to reset my password and I intercepted the request via Burp Suite. There are multiple proxies are there. Now remember, you should not be doing anything illegal, but that's how attackers do it. So if you do it, make sure you report it properly. Now, if you see here, there is a password which is there, and I can see that there is a user ID for victim which is there. So I've tried to reset the password, and there's a token there. And on the top, if you see this URL, I've just changed this ID. And when I sent it to the server, let's see what happens. Now here, everything is mine except that user ID. And if you see, the new password has been changed because there was no proper authentication at the server side. Now that's interesting to see. But what do you do? How do you defend against it? There are so many things that you can do. So let's start with deny by default, which we call it as zero trust, where never trust, always verify. It's like nobody gets it on the list till the time we allow them. Then there are a few other things around context aware access, where we know that if somebody would come in through only corporate IP or a VPN would be allowed. Or if I am logging in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and suddenly I start logging on a weekend, so that will be little fishy. So we can actually build a context over time. There are people call it as that we can have short live those tokens, jot tokens, or authentication tokens, and we need to make sure we refresh those tokens. There could be multiple other ways like honey tokens, multi-factor authentication. We can secure our authorization. Least privilege is something which we have to do it at all times, and role based access control. Now why I say that, I've seen cases where people leave their team and move to another team and they still carry all those accesses which were there. And it happened in my team where when I was working with one person where he was from a firewall team. Now firewall team, what it does is they allow or block certain IPs, certain requests. And now this person moved to our team, and when this person moved, he carried those accesses because the access was not removed, because it was not group based, and carried all those accesses. And I remember we wanted to do a pen test for an app, and we said, oh, we need to raise a request, we need to get the approval, and if we don't have an approval, we can't go ahead and start doing the pen test. So this person said, oh, wait, give me 2 minutes. Went to the console, changed things, came back and said, now try and access. Now technically I should be happy, but ethically it is wrong. You should not be carrying those accesses. So the very same day the person's access was removed, and we need to make sure that this does not happen. Okay, now let's see. So when we talk about OWASP membership, this session is not about that, and I'm sure we are not the right people for it, but we can discuss it maybe afterwards.